Meeting will come to order, please. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act for this meeting have been satisfied. A copy of the annual meeting notice was sent to the press, Dow Beach Current, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, on the municipal website, filed in the office of the municipal clerk. Would you please take a second to turn off, including me, all electronic equipment as we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Johanna, call the roll, please.
Mayor Becker,
Here.
Commissioner Amadeo.
Here.
Commissioner Blumberg.
I am here.
We have one item for discussion. That's a property on Clarendon Avenue. Scott, would you bring us up to date on that, please?
Mayor, what we've been contacted by the executor of an estate that owns two lots, lots 4 and 5 of block 903.02 Clarendon Avenue. That's within that area that on our maps generally is indicated as wetlands. It's the undeveloped area of Margate. As you see, you have this letter. I don't know if you have a copy of this or not, but they've asked us, is the city interested in buying these two lots for $20,000? Their grandmother bought it in 1928 or 1929. The mother inherited it. Long chain of title here, but in the same family for over 80 years. They currently pay for about $400 and some dollars, $435 a year in taxes. They want to offer it to us for $20,000. And you've got to make a decision here to respond to them. Tell them yes, no, what would we want to do?
What would be the benefit to the city? Are they buildable lots or?
Well, no, I think they're in a wetlands area. Now, we do own a bunch of lots in that area. But through the years, we've either bought them for nominal amounts or else people left them to us. I know some people gifted them to the city. I don't know how they come up with 20,000, but I guess just start high, you know. But if you want, we'll look into it. We want to put a little time into it. I don't know. Is anybody familiar with past practices?
That's what I was going to ask. What's happened in the past?
From the assessor's office, all those lands that people have gotten away from have been donated back to the city, and they use it as a tax write-off. The city has never purchased anything back there at any time.
Oh, there you are.
Well, and I wouldn't be in favor of it.
Nor would I, John.
I agree.
How about if they wanted it donated?
We would accept it.
Absolutely.
All right. So,
Can you write a letter back to them?
that's what I do. Let me just see. I think they're assessed, if he's correct, they're assessed for $7,900 each without benefit of the equalization ratio, so it's a little bit more than that. And I can say to him that the city would be willing to facilitate it if he wants to deed them to the city. As I say, the city does own a bunch of lots in there.
Mm-hmm.
These are isolated, separate lots. You know, could there an argument be made, there's some obligation to let them develop it? I mean, theoretically, you could do that, long shot. I do believe they're all wetlands, that's my understanding.
Not all of the lots back there do fall into the wetlands.
No? Well,
We would have to research whether that was
Well,
one.
why don't you write them a letter and see
I will
what they
do
want
that.
to do, Scott?
In fact, as you know, and you realize, not only is it if it's in wetlands, but then there's a buffer from wetlands.
Right.
That aspect of it too. So you may look at a map and say, geez, it's not in wetlands, but there's still a buffer as well. So I will respond to him. He deserves a response.
Thank you,
You've now
Councilor.
given me guidance.
This
Thank
way,
you,
if they
Councilor.
give them to us, they don't have to cut the grass anymore.
That's right. You know, I don't think anything's cut there. It's all wild.
All right. There's an advantage to everything, right? All right. Why don't we start department head reports, and we'll start with Maureen today.
Everything's good. We're busy, but everything's up to date. And 2 more court dates, and then for the end of the summer, and then look forward to the fall. Yeah, right. A little bit.
We all look forward to the fall. Chief?
I have an update on the bike rack installation. I
Oh.
spoke to Jim Rotella this morning. Unfortunately, as you're aware, the county took over the whole thing, and they did a request for proposal for engineers or engineering firms to design the bike racks, and they got 0 responses. So what they're going to do is, according to Jim, is turn it back over to each municipality. They're gonna turn it over to us, and I guess we would have somebody design bike racks for us and go from there.
Okay.
So unfortunately, it killed another summer.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. That's
Anything else, Pete?
That's it. Everything else is good.
Lisa?
Hi, good afternoon. One thing I wanted to point out, I did share with you via email, we got the actuarial report for our state health benefits program for the proposed renewal rates for 2018. And for the year 2018, there is a 0% increase for active employees and for retirees. And then there's also a reduction for certain other, like Medicare retirees. So I just want to put it out there so that the public can rest at ease that although, you know, in light of everything that's been spoken about recently in the news in regards to the increased claims experience, what's it going to affect the taxpayers, basically there will be no impact directly because our premiums will be remaining flat for next year. So that's good news. They have it under control. The state is aware of it, and they have taken measures to correct it and are addressing the situation. So that was good. Also, one other thing I want to report is just give you a status of our beach badge revenue. As of July 31st, our total revenue from sales was $313,665, which is down just under $13,000 from that time last year. I'm not sure where we stand this year. I'm really not anticipating to have a great month for this month because in light of everything on the beach and, you know, the anger instilled in all of our residents, which is justifiable, you know, the beach inspectors have really had a difficult time this year, more so than usual. I mean, it's just amazing how people want to attack a 15, 16-year-old person with their anger. I mean, and it's harassment, you know, and need be. So, you know, I've spoken with Bill Walsh, who oversees it, and told them, you know, they're just going to do their best, what they can, and it's not worth, you know, being confrontational. So I think maybe after the season, the commissioners want to see if there's something we may need to do differently for next year. I don't know. We'll have to see how it all plays out in regards to that. What else I have? We did close on our bond anticipation notes, the $6,750,000. So I have the proceeds, which is good, and we'll be able to, you know, pay for the projects that have been authorized for this year, which will go on to next year as well. Other than that, I think everything else is good.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. Chief DeVasso?
Mayor, Commissioner, things have been good, fire department and beach patrol wise, although I just would like to make note that with rough water down at the beach, hurricane season, high waves, for people to take heed of the lifeguards' warnings for rip currents and things like that, especially with everything going on down there. Otherwise, all things are good. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Joanne?
I have nothing to report. All is good.
Scott, we're back to you. Do you have anything?
Well, I'm sure we're gonna talk about the ongoing efforts to to resolve the drainage issues, but I don't know if you want me to bring that up at this point, do you, or
Why don't we wait for the, whatever you want.
how do you feel about it, Commissioner? You wanna talk about that now a little bit? As you know, pursuant to court order, we had a conference call yesterday for the Superior Court Judge Mendez, who, as you know, had ruled in our favor and is still keeping his hand involved with this case over the DEP, which does help us in our negotiations with the DEP. I think John is probably the one maybe to go into some of the efforts there that are ongoing, or I don't know how far we want to take this. I do think we should go into an executive session, though, to discuss the status of our litigation and our negotiations with both the DEP and the Army. I really don't want to say anything too much at this point. I know we're sitting at the table. It seems like we're trying to make progress. It seems like they do want to make progress. They're tired of fighting with us too. I think they've acknowledged that there was a mistake with that retention basin. And so, should I be optimistic that we're going to get this resolved? I don't know yet.
Absolutely, yeah.
I guess that's the best way to go. That's all I want to say about that.
Okay.
But I do want to go into an executive session at some point.
Good.
Okay, anything else, Kat?
Is there anything else I'm on deck for? Not that I'm aware of.
We set a record for brevity, too.
I don't know. Should we talk about the dredging just briefly? I
Oh,
know,
absolutely.
as you know,
Here, it's a Scott show.
Senator Whalen was the author of that legislation. And that, it's nice to give everybody some credit, but it was Jimmy Whalen really was the one who pushed that. And he's not feeling well now. Jimmy's been having some health issues, and so we certainly want to wish him well. He's been, I think, effective, and he's a good guy. And right now, he's been ill, and he had a lot to do with this dredging bill, which is just one obstacle that has been removed. It is now possible for the marinas and the dock owners near and around the log cabin, as well as our marina district, to move forward with dredging plans, as I know the city is. We still got a bunch of other obstacles, but the shellfish habitat rule was a bad one, and it's now been knocked out in part, and I thank our assemblyman too, of course. But I do think Senator Whalen does deserve a lot of credit on that one. So that's all I had to say.
Mayor, may I comment?
You may.
Well, we're on the topic. I do want to clarify one thing for our residents. Senator Whalen had spoken, Scott and I had a meeting at his office several months ago, probably 6 months ago, and he said, concluding his term as the senator in the 2nd District, one of his main concerns was to resolve the issues that prevent us from dredging our back bays, which promote our tourism industry, keeps our marinas alive, and helps the economy of all the shore resorts from Sandy Hook to Cape May. With that said, that was one of his pet peeves to get resolved. It was Scott and Stuart Farrell, Dr. Farrell from Stockton, that actually crafted the legislation that Senator Whalen went to the legislature and got the support, and eventually got the governor's support to sign the bill into law. So it was a great first step, and Scott, you should take credit for, you wrote it. It was you authored it, so that's where it lies.
Thanks, John. I better thank Assemblyman Brown and Assemblyman Mazzio, and one of them's going to be our next senator, I think, so we better thank their efforts too.
Somebody else.
Are we done thanking anybody? or
I
can we
think the
move
mayor,
on now?
thank you too, Mayor. Thank you, John.
Maury,
Maury, thank you. Joanna, thank you.
Maury, do you have anything?
I do, and it's funny. It is in fact a thank you. So I want to thank you, Mayor, and I want to thank John and Solicitor Abbott. The time that you guys have spent on the dune issue is a ton of time, and it's a ton of extra time, and the effort that you guys have put in, it doesn't go unnoticed. It doesn't go unnoticed by the public. The beaches are our crown jewel, and just so the public knows, we are doing everything that we possibly can to protect that jewel and preserve it. And so for that, I want to thank you. I also want to thank the residents that participated. I was away for the weekend, and I understand that there was a peaceful rally that took place on the beach. So I want to thank the residents that attended and the people that were instrumental in organizing that. The only way that we're going to succeed here is to continue to bring attention to the fact, in my opinion, that we have a problem that needs to be resolved, and we can't rest until we have confirmation that it will be solved. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. John?
I'm good, Mayor.
Okay, while we're on the subject
Mayor
of,
Becker, Fred Verna's department head report, please.
if he doesn't want to sit, Fred, you have anything? No.
Why do you do that?
You just, this is the
Mayor.
Fred and Johanna show.
Mayor,
Yes,
I have nothing to report other than my staff has been out of hand this past week and I had to get them under control. Thank you.
And I apologize for that.
yeah, back to the dunes. Just for your information, the court has appointed a magistrate to sort of monitor what's going on the beach. There's a daily report from the magistrate is being posted on our webpage, so if you want to read it, you can read it on a daily basis. It's usually, obviously, a day behind, and we made some copies, which are right up here for, I think, the last report. And as Marty and John both and Scott, we're in very serious negotiations, and you know, keep your fingers crossed. That's all I can say. We're working hard. Okay. Anything else? We will open for public comment, 3 minutes on anything that was discussed here today. We tried to broaden the horizons here.
Since it was him, I had to get up.
There we go. Double O.
I'll catch.
Sewell 22 West Drive. Following up on the words and comments of our esteemed solicitor. Mayor, the irate crowd that swamped the Margate Commission meeting of August 3rd was a sad group of Johnny-come-lately concerned citizens. Like you, Mayor, they were a day late and $1 short when it came to addressing the dune fiasco. The stagnant ponding between the bulkheads and the dunes was predictable from the get-go. Repeated warnings were issued for months and years on end to the commission to no avail. Mayor, your running mate and fellow commissioner Brenda Taubey was gung-ho for the dunes. Mayor, as usual, you were quote-unquote undecided, vacillating, procrastinating, and testing the political winds. Precious time was lost to lobby the Rotund Rhino in Trenton. Christie's arbitrary and capricious executive order mandated unilaterally the one-size-fits-all dune project for all towns. Margate's valid point was that flooding comes not from the ocean, but rather the back bay. Margate posited that its beach bulkheads were adequate to prevent flooding, ocean flooding. Commissioners refused to listen to reason regarding the additional need of a master jetty at the end of Longport. It would duplicate the Apseacon Inlet Jetty in Brigantine. It generated over 3,000 feet of new beach. This beach was in fact a 3,000-foot underground dune, since wave action would have to chew the beach up before ever reaching the bulkheads. The Margate commissioners to this day refuse to lobby either Trenton or Washington, D.C. to secure funding for a one-time shore fix to ocean flooding, a master jetty. New Jersey's 2 U.S. senators could easily secure this funding with a little horse trading with the Republican side of the aisle. It could be tacked onto another bill Republicans might dearly want. Instead, the commissioners have thrown hundreds of thousands of dollars at a dubious law firm that came up with a total goose egg after billing nearly $250,000. They couldn't even wrangle some outflow pipes to drain the cesspools between the dunes and bulkhead. Mayor, this snafu is your baby. You have refused to be proactive, and as a result, we're saddled with a horrendous boondoggle that you keep throwing money at with no results. Leadership has been sorely lacking on all counts here. It's a disgrace, Mayor. And by the way, oh, you were saved by the bell, Mayor, because I was going to ask.
How lucky can one guy get, John?
I was going to ask about that referral fee, but I'll leave that for another day.
At least you didn't get run out this week, John. It was good. Anyone else? Any public comment? Items that were discussed at this meeting.
Someone do it the back bays. Hi, my name's Angelo Sika, 300 North Wilson Avenue. Just, John was talking about dredging the back bays, and we've been here a few times talking about the flex valves on these outflow pipes, which I believe would also help if they dredge. And I was just wondering what's going on with the flex valves. Has there been any motion on it, any movement on it?
Angelo, I wish I could have an answer. Mr. Wahlberg is sick. He's not here today. I will get hold of him as soon as he's better, and I'll get back to you.
You guys are doing a great job, no matter what everybody says.
Huh?
I think he got a price on the valves.
It did get priced.
Yeah,
Could
he
be.
did get,
I
he
think
did
it's
get a
it.
price.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the next move now?
It's-
Get contractors? Is that the way this works?
Yeah.
Okay, and are we talking a lot of time there, or?
Well, it has to
Within
go
a
out.
year?
It has to go out.
No,
Yeah, no,
it'll
it's-
get done.
It's on the books. Angelo.
Okay,
Honest,
okay, that's all I
really
want
is.
to. And you guys are doing a great job. I'm sorry about the mess you got yourself into, but good luck to you.
Thanks.
And thank you for
Thanks,
your
Angelo.
time.
Thanks.
Andrew, it'll get done.
Anyone else? Only about items that were discussed at this meeting, so. Do you qualify for that, Paul? Yeah, come on. Why not?
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Vanderine, 311 Dorchester Drive, Egg Harbor Township. As you all know, this year's been a very rough year for beach concessions, for ice cream. Again, there's no, in my viewpoint, there's no blame here from the city, okay? You were thrust upon this, but I'm in the same situation. You know, I'm trying to conduct a business. This year, I'm going to come up with massive losses. And I drafted a letter a week ago Monday that I asked if I could get some kind of response from. I was surprised to see that the letter was admitted as evidence in the federal lawsuit.
Yes.
I don't know what purpose that was, but, you know, it was important enough for it to be admitted, okay? I would like to get some kind of dialogue. I talked to Joanna yesterday in reference to maybe starting a dialogue with the city manager, and then maybe city manager will discuss it with powers that be to maybe come up with a solution to my problem. One situation, okay, good. Okay.
Paul?
Yes.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Yes.
I think we're in unanimous agreement. That's fine with us. Mr. Deeney, the manager, is away till next
Yes.
Tuesday, I believe. So.
Okay, so you have my, I have your
contact him
permission
and-
to talk to him and maybe come up with a solution. It's not a good year for us, and.
It's not a good year for anybody
for
this year.
anyone. But,
You want to talk about good years? This is not the
yeah,
time.
I know,
We
I
understand
know.
that.
But I'm hoping next year will be a better year. Hopefully there will be a beach next year.
We're in agreement. Okay,
Okay, all right, thank you.
thank you,
Mayor,
Paul.
I would like to say one thing.
Go ahead, Scott.
I want to thank him, Walt, for you coming up to federal court, sitting there most of the day, getting on the stand and testifying. I know that's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
And, you know, we called him to see if he could help us, and he did. So,
Well, we help each other.
We're in it
That's the way I
together.
see it.
We're
in
all
it
together.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Paul. Any other public comment?
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rick Clausen, 9300 Atlantic Avenue, Margate. I didn't plan on speaking today, but after listening to this first gentleman, having the faintest idea of what he was talking about. You guys have been working hard for years on this project. I've gone through all the lawsuits and I've followed everything you've done. If you have any idea what's going on that provoked the comments, I haven't seen anything. I know we've been fighting, you know, since I've been a kid, since the early 60s, we've been talking about new jetties, but if you could shed light on, I don't know, have I missed something that you haven't worked as hard as I think I already believe you've been working? I just don't know.
Mayor, you wanna- I think, Eric, I think it's clear. I can't call you Rick, because I know you by Eric.
You can call me anything you want.
Angelo was referring to flood valves that we have on the bay.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
I know he mentioned that something about the jetty system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beauty,
Sewell
Rick,
never said
beauty
we were
is in the
working
eyes of
hard.
the beholder,
Angelo
and
said we
sometimes
were
we have
working
differences of opinion. That's about all I can tell you.
I just, I can't imagine anybody would not see that you were not working as hard as you possibly can. So, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
We
Okay.
we work hard every day for the citizens of Margate. Anyone else? Last chance.
Steve Warner, 103 North Sumner Avenue. I'd just like to chime in on the dune issue a little bit. I guess a lot of people think I'm anti-dune, but really I'm just anti the city spending money for things that are not going to work out. Okay, and it's just going to cost the city a lot of money, and we're going to get nothing. Okay, and really that's what I said from the get-go. We were going to lose this case because we just are. I'd just like to, I don't know, try to communicate a little bit. I have some experience working, dealing with the federal government, which a lot of it I wish that I didn't have, but I found that, the government you cannot win against the federal government. It's their policy that you lose, okay? And now how much money you want to spend, it doesn't matter. You're going to lose, okay? And they don't care. They'll, they have unlimited funds, okay? They're paying thousands of people every day, whether they do anything or they don't do anything. And the whole policy is, if you want to fight us, you're going to lose. Now, it's been my experience, I'd like to share this with you, Mayor. The best way to deal with the government is to say, okay, we're not going to fight. What can you do to help us with the problems we have, okay? And really, the best attitude might be to beg. We have a terrible problem, could you please help us with this problem? And you might get some results doing that. But fighting the government, you're going to lose. That's the nature of it. Okay? And, look at some of the people that fought the government, all right? You got the Native American...
George Washington, Ben Franklin.
The Native American casino owners, okay? How about the Mexicans?
No.
The Japanese? Who won?
May I make a comment here?
Go ahead.
Steve, we got 3 more summers without this because we fought.
In the scheme of things, Scott, what does that mean? It's in the scheme of things, what does that mean?
It means our business has survived for 3 years.
Big friggin' deal.
It means our
Big
business has
friggin'
survived
deal.
for 3
I mean,
years.
with the scheme of things, how many summers have you had? 65 summers, so 3 of them,
I'm a couple shy of your number or something.
Yeah, you are. You're a couple shy of my number in a few things. But,
You don't
This
want
is
to go there.
Comedy Central.
I'm just trying to give you... I'm trying to give you the benefit of my experience, okay?
Well, maybe we have this, but we're hoping to get it resolved.
Well, I hope so too. But after all this froth,
Steve,
yeah.
they dug out 3 foot.
Okay, so they made a mistake. You never made a mistake?
Well, they weren't acknowledging that till he fought him.
Yeah, right. Like they'd have left it like that, I'm sure. Okay, I'm just telling you my advice, that's all.
Thank you, Steve. Just in time.
Wow.
Another wasted 3 minutes.
Today, but I got an answer to that. Respectfully, Steve, you're wrong.
Name and address, please.
Glenn Klotz,
Thank
118
you.
North Barclay Avenue. First of all, this has been going on for 17 years. It hasn't been going on for 3. So this started, as many people know here, in 2000. And the commission then didn't want to join. No commission wanted to join, okay? We've been fighting this for 17 years, and we've had the beach for 17 years. So I don't know what Steve's talking about. You can't win. We've been winning all along. Yeah, okay, in the end, the Army's eventually going to win. That doesn't mean that we don't fight, okay? Because if we don't fight, then we end up with what we ended up with down there. We put our hand up. They made a mistake, okay? If we had just accepted that, then we would have to go out and buy a whole bunch of diesel pumps and be stuck with pumping that out. Now, I don't know how that's going to end, and, the city's going to have to figure that out with the state, and I hope it's settled in a way that we get some good drainage. I'm not so sure what the Army's doing. I'm watching with everybody else what they're doing. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I hope it does work. I don't want to see it fail because, to be honest with you, my concern is that if it does fail, we're going to end up down there with a whole lot of outfalls. We're going to end up with an industrialized beach. Okay, and that's a whole nother bunch of problems because someday the money's going to run out, folks, for these projects. I guarantee it, it's going to run out. And I don't want to see the beach down there filled up with a whole lot more hardware than has to be down there. Now, Ventnor didn't get the outfalls. I think that was a smart move. Now, you know, they have drainage problems there, but it's under the boardwalk. We don't have that. Okay, so I don't know what the solution is. I didn't get up here because I don't have a solution. I don't think anybody does right now. But I caution you about putting a whole new drainage system, okay, in this town down there. I don't think that that's a solution. I think that just is going to create even more problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Anybody else?
Stephen Altman, 9003 Amherst Avenue, Margate. Just a point of clarification, if you will. I hardly agree with Mr. Sewell's delivery. I think you all have worked very hard on this Dunes debacle. But one point that Mr. Sewell always makes is about a master jetty. And I've done some research, and it generally shows that a master jetty would have been a workable solution. But I've never heard a real public discussion on why that has not been evaluated and approached, except that I have read that the federal government is not interested in funding things like master jetties. Can any of you give me your wisdom on that subject?
If you remember, Steve, when this round started, there was a meeting in the Ross Union Avenue School in the auditorium. That time, the Corps of Engineers put out a pamphlet in which they listed every type of beach protection there was, how it was considered, what they rated. Jetty was the top thing. It was the most efficient. It was the most expensive, and they said they wouldn't even consider it. So that's why they've really never been part of the process. They investigated everything.
So I'm essentially correct that the federal government was not interested in doing master
However
jetties.
you want to say it, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you know, can I give another point on that too? Just because so many people say this. I would think almost all of our meetings we mention master jetty, but they have consistently said no. And I think the reason they say no, because we all know about Brigantine. They've got 2,500 foot long jetty. They built up over 1,000 foot of beach in 50 years. They now have beach, dune, marine forest, which is far more significant than dune, for the southern end of their island. If you look at any of the old maps and pictures and you see what they have today, you see a jetty worked. But here's the negative. There have been a number of lawsuits where they built these jetties, and I think this is the reason why. There have been lawsuits that said the jetties robbed the sand of the towns that would have had the benefit of that sand, whichever way it flows. Sometimes it goes south, sometimes it goes north. And so that has happened in Florida and on Long Beach Island that I'm aware of, Long Beach, New York. They never said that, but they've always said no to the master jetty. And now I have experts telling me that our inlet here is going to be very, very difficult next year because of the sand that will migrate south. Our sand generally migrates out. And we're going to have a tough boating season next year. So, but you're right that we've always mentioned that master jetty, right, John? I mean, we've talked about these with them. They have no interest. It's not that we didn't push it.
Time and time again.
Glenn Klotz, 118 North Barclay. Look, I've been hearing about this master jetty thing for a long time. I spent about 4 hours one time talking to one of New Jersey and the nation's top scientist, Norbert Sudi, out of Rutgers about this. And I've talked to Stuart Farrell about it over the years. The fact of the matter is jetties, groins, they don't add anything to the system. They just trap sand. That's all they do. They rob Peter to pay Paul, as Scott said. Essentially, that's what he's saying. The problem that we have on this island right now is we don't have any natural replenishment anymore, and I'll tell you why. Because of the jetty and brigantine. All our sand that should be coming across that inlet is on their beach. And that's just a fact. So if we put a jetty down there, yeah, okay, it'll build some sand up, but it's just robbing Ocean City of the sand. And so we just, send the problem down the beach. And there's lawsuits up and down the coast over these jetties. So is it a solution? No, it doesn't put any sand. Right now, the only solution that we have, I hate to admit it, but it's a fact, is pumping the shoals and putting sand into the system, because there isn't any natural replenishment. What we should be doing is taking those jetties down and not filling in, dredging out the entrances of the harbors, because any sand that comes across, even if we took them down, will fall into the hole and never get into the system. So we've created all this problem, okay? And in the long term, we are going to have to solve it, because what's going to happen, like I said, the money's going to run out, okay? Or the sand's going to run out, as Dr. Sudi said, and then we're going to be in a fix, folks. Because jetties are not going to put sand on our beaches. We're going to have to figure out how we're going to get sand on them, or the island's just going to erode away. That's the long term. That's for next generation to figure out. Good luck.
Thank you again, Glenn. Anyone else? Is there a motion to close public comment?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mayor Becker,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg.
Yes,
Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mayor Becker,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo.
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg.
Yes.
We will take a very short break and begin our